So tell me a little bit about what ABA actually consists of.
Okay. Yay, this is going to be great. Okay, in front of you, you have just a sheet that has some points, probably, I think 5 to 7 points that we're going to go a little bit more in depth right now. So that's just bulleted points, so you can take notes as we talk if you'd like. But yes, so what is ABA? ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, and it gets its name from the science of behavior, which is behavior analysis. But keep in mind that science, typically when you think of science, you think that it has to be applied or like experimented. And that's not the case. It can be just research or working on, animals in a lab. But once we get into applied behavior analysis, then it becomes more when science of behavior is used towards meaningful things in our environment that everyone agrees is socially accepted. Since we're looking at the science of behavior, behavior can be anything. So your behavior right now is you are looking at me and you're taking notes just as I talk about this topic. So that's your behavior right now. My behavior is I'm a little nervous talking to you about what ABA is, and I'm using my hands a lot. That's a behavior that I have when I talk. So behavior can be as anything. It can be when maybe someone's trying to lose weight, if they're trying to quit smoking, training for a marathon, you name it. If there's the behavior that you're trying to increase or decrease, that is what ABA is. ABA has a plethora of evidence-based practices that will help the person to learn and to become more motivated to either increase or decrease the desired behavior. Sometimes I would hear the phrase environment modifiers, but as I've progressed in my ABA courses, I understand what that means. Environment modifiers. It means everyone behaves for a reason. So say something like, for example, there's no way that a person would wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning and go run 5 miles just because they wanted to. I mean, maybe, but typically it's for a reason. They're getting something else out of it. Either they're just trying to stay just physically fit because maybe they go to a university and they're an athlete and their classes, are getting paid for, so they have to stay physically fit. Or they're just trying to lose weight, or they're personally just training for a marathon. So they're doing it for a reason. There's a purpose behind pretty much everything we do. So what ABA attempts to see, what it attempts to do is we try to see ways that we can modify the environment to help people learn to behave in ways that will get them what they want or what they need, but in a social appropriate way. So let's just say that you're my child and I'm wanting you to help me do more chores around the house. We know kids don't want to do that. So I'm wanting you to do this. I'm wanting you to help me do more chores around the house because I know as you get older that these skills of doing chores is going to help your independence and you're going to become more self-sufficient and long term. So I could modify the environment in different ways, such as, I'm going to just talk about 3 different ways to get you to want to do chores around the house for me. I could yell at you and nag at you in hopes that, because so you think, okay, I'm just going to do it in hopes that I stop yelling or nagging at you. Or 2, I could go ahead and up front just tell you that you're going to get some type of consequence out of it, like an allowance. So if I say, please help me around the house, or do this pile of laundry, and then you will get this much allowance. You're probably going to do it because you're seeing that you're getting something in the end. Or 3rd, I could just start out with a very easy chore that you're going to feel like you're going to get that experience and you're going to feel successful and not be frustrated, such as I could just tell you first to help me fill the Brita pitcher in the refrigerator. Just fill it up with water and put it back in the refrigerator. That's something very simple, very easy, so you will feel that success. So a behavior analyst, we look at all the possibilities for what we can change or what can be changed in the environment. Taking into account, though, what is motivating for each different person. That is huge. We have to understand what they're going to work for, what they like, what they don't like what motivates that person. Then we map out a plan to implement changes that will improve their quality of life and to teach new skills. Does everything make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And for an example, in my classroom currently, I have a student that they hit to get attention because they can't talk. So as a behavior analyst, we have a plethora, again, of evidence-based practices that we learn in school, that we continue learning even when we become a behavior analyst, a board-certified behavior analyst, that we know works. There's research that supports that if we use this type of technique, it will work. It may not work the first time, and it may not work as fast as maybe the research says, but it is evidence-based, and so that is what we go towards when we're looking for different ways, techniques, and strategies to help our clients. So we don't just wake up one morning and think, oh, we're going to try this because maybe that will work. I mean, you can, but that's not what we do. It needs to be evidence-based practices that we're, implementing with our clients. So in my classroom, for that student that, they are hitting to get attention because they cannot talk. So my teaching partners and I have been using FCT. It's an ABA practice. It's called it stands for Facilitated Communication Training. FCT provides this an alternative to teach that student that they can get attention, but in a more socially appropriate way. So we're teaching them a different technique that serves the same function as when they were hitting the other kids. So it's a very highly effective practice, FCT. So we have been implementing visual cue cards, picture cards, to this student when we see that maybe they're trying to say hi, they're trying to get attention in some kind of way, either it's hi or bye or hey, look at this. So we give them, for example, if it's hi, we give them a card that has a hand that's waving. And so we're trying to teach that child to hold up this card, when they're trying to communicate with others instead of hitting. Same for playing and sharing while at centers. So we've got picture cards with other little children on the card that they can relate to, or maybe playing or sharing. So instead of hitting and instead of hitting or the inappropriate behaviors, now we can help teach. Hey, look at this card. Give it to your friend. This is what you're trying to say, that you want to play to, that you want to turn. So that is FCT. The visual cards of the hand wave and the playing and sharing will then serve as the same function for the student as the hitting was. Oftentimes, for example, people will associate ABA with DTT. Have you ever heard of DTT? DTT is discrete trial training. And I'm mentioning this because ABA, when it first originated back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was frowned upon. And there was more reasons that maybe it was frowned upon, but a lot of the reason was that people would associate ABA with DTT. So, and they were using a lot of punitive, punishing type practices back in the day, but now we have a plethora of evidence-based practices that work and that are not punitive. So they're not punishing the child. We are doing all that we can to positively help our client, a child, adult, whoever it may be. So ABA has had a negative, a negative outlook because DTT, for example, is just kind of like what we're doing right now. We're across the table, for example, and you have a task box in front of you. You have to complete 3 puzzles and then put in the all done basket, and then I say good job, and then we do it again. It's very repetitive, it's very bland. Or we might be working on requesting or labeling. So I might say, what's this? And you say pen. And then I say, what's this? And you say water. And we just do repetition. And I'm like, great job. Let's do it again. So it's very just repetitive, kind of exhausting a little bit, and it's not a lot of fun. But that's not all what ABA is. DTT is definitely a great evidence-based practice. It is, but it's not all what ABA is. Again, there's FCT, DTT, pivotal response training, antecedent interventions, behavior training, fading, scripting, and so many others. Evidence-based practices. Behavior analysts do not claim that they are experts in speech, language, occupational, fine motor, gross motor type skills. Even though we do provide a lot of, our interventions, our treatment plans might have a lot of those skills embedded in them that we're working on. So we do a lot, oftentimes, we're trying to help our client request their wants and needs in a more appropriate way, like the child in my classroom, for example, or they need to just get a vocabulary repertoire already in their system. So we're going to work on labeling. And those are speech and language type goals usually. And same for occupational therapy. For example, we might be doing a lot of stringing beads or putting puzzles together, working with our hands, strengthening our hands, etc. But we're not an occupational therapist. So when parents or teachers might want to ask us advice or if they have questions in those areas, we do advise, we will give them advice from a behavior analyst standpoint, but we will also always advise, please talk to your speech or occupational therapist for your concerns and questions. Okay, so next we're going down to who can receive ABA. Who do you, who have you ever, really heard this before? Do you think there's a certain population that just receives ABA? Or you can say you don't know?
Not really for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not synonymous just to autism treatment. ABA is not just an autism treatment, meaning it's not just for children with autism, but it's known for that And that's awesome because we've made ourselves known, because there's so much evidence-based research that supports quality data on the effects of increasing that appropriate behavior for individuals with autism. So it's a great thing that we are associated with autism, yes, because we do work with that population a lot, and there is a lot of research and support out there that shows positive effects for this population. However, ABA can be applied to anyone. I can do ABA on you. I can do that ABA practices, and anyone can receive or get, ABA services. However, when I say that, insurance may not always cover or help with ABA services. It gets a little tricky, a little wonky in that area. Typically, I think still to this day, they do expect the client to have an autism diagnosis, and then they will, if that's the case, then they will typically, help pay for all, pay for half, pay for whatever portion. So I'm unfamiliar if they cover maybe outside the autism realm, but again, we want to educate people that it's not just for autism. It's for anyone. So we'll see as the years go on, maybe what, all the insurance, like their rules and expectations, like what changes in who they maybe accept for services. Okay, and lastly, I just want to go over like who can give ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis services. A board certified behavior analyst has to be the one who gives the initial assessments, contacts insurances, does that like the initial testing, talks to the client, talks to the families, etc. That has to be the board certified behavior analyst. They are the ones that get the ball rolling with ABA services. They are the ones that nail down the qualifications, etc. in their assessments, surveys, direct and indirect observations, etc. BCBAs are the only ones who can create the treatment plan. They modify it, and they are the only ones that can terminate the plan. A BCBA can give direct therapy all the time. That they can do that. But typically they're usually not the one that's doing most of the therapy, because they're back here creating the plans, doing the initial assessments, modifying, just making sure all data is accurate. And then, so who usually will give most of their services to our clients are RBTs, Registered Behavior Technicians. And let's see here. So, the BCBA is overseeing all of their clients who are under them on their caseload, who is under them. They're overseeing all their clients and their clients' treatment plans. They're analyzing their data, and they're handling insurance companies, etc. And all of that, those things take a lot of time and energy and effort. Data is key in this profession, in this practice. It drives the behavior analyst. It drives our intervention for our clients. Clients' data should be graphed periodically in order for the BCBA and the team to visually depict the effectiveness of the interventions. So we want to graph our data so that we can even easily show it to a parent, to a teacher, and they could very easily see, okay, this behavior is increasing, or no, doing this treatment, and then it'll have the treatment on it, like what that treatment is, and then it'll have the the data, it can be probably easily seen that it's working or that it's not working or that things are stable. So I say all of this to then again say that ABA can be given in a clinical setting, it can be given in school settings, or it can even be given in a home setting. So that's really neat. We've got options of what environments that we'll work in. During the initial consent and treatment plan, so going back up here to what I just said about the board certified behavior analyst is the one that does all the initial assessments and gets the ball rolling for that client. But they also have an obligation that they have to, they have to teach and tell parents and teachers. They have to educate them that they are responsible and that they must provide wraparound services. Meaning, in order to have effective, beneficial, long-term results, if I'm wanting that child, back in my example, in my classroom, if I'm wanting them to learn other ways to get attention and to communicate, what if, the mom or another teacher just kind of lets the hitting keep happening, just maybe because it's not really a big deal and it's not really hard, but they're not following through with the plan is that we need to be implementing the visual cards that's implementing that FCT practice. And if they're not doing that, then we're not going to get anywhere. It's just going to keep, binging off each other. So that's very important. And I'm going to end on that note mainly. It's just that we do want, the wraparound services because we want the best for our clients. Everyone does. In order for that to happen, we've got to, kind of work together. Anyways, a great website for you to research more on what ABA is just simply thebacb.com. And that is the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. And that it's really cool. You can go there, and at the bottom of your sheet is just bullet points on what actually you can find on that website. All kinds of things more in depth about what ABA is. And then also you can search by zip code. You can put in your zip code and then it will pop up. Names will pop up of certified behavior analysts, board certified behavior analysts that are in your area. If you or someone you knew were needing services, then you could reach out to them. So it's a very cool way to find a license, appropriate resource. Mm-hmm. And another one, the last one I was also going to offer, you can do some more investigation research on ABA, is the ASAT website, and it's the Association for Science and Autism Research. A lot of times initially parents do have a lot of questions of maybe is there other practices or techniques or interventions, therapies that might work, and maybe we should do these things first before getting into ABA. So as a BCBA, we do like to just, again, educate, just our thinking, our philosophy. So this website is great because it has those psychological, educational, therapeutic, and biomedical interventions. And it's going to tell you what works. It's going to tell you what needs more research to be evidence-based, to be an actual evidence-based practice, what doesn't work, or what's been untested. So that's a really good resource just to kind of educate yourself more on maybe other therapies and things, interventions that are out there, and just to kind of see, your options and figure out what you want to do. But do you have any questions?
No, I think that covers it. I appreciate you talking to me.
Thank you. Yes. All right. Thank you so much.